Hey everyone, Liz here again, and this time it's gonna be pretty casual, pretty chill. Instead of reading some kind of book or something like the one I posted earlier today, I'm gonna read you an article. The article is from Slate.com and it's titled The Most Terrifying Thought Experiment of All Time. And the little subtitle thing says, Why are techno-futurists so freaked out by Roko's Basilisk? The article is by a man named David Auerbach. At least I'm assuming that's how you spell that. As always, I'll put a link in the description to the article and everything. But, yeah, I read this, a while ago, and it really stuck with me. And, once I read it, you'll probably understand, why it stuck with me so hard. And geez, based on what it says in the article, I really shouldn't even be doing this, but, oh well. If I if I commit you to an eternity of suffering and torment with this, then I sincerely apologize. Which, yeah, it says, warning, reading this article may commit you to an eternity of suffering and torment. So, strap in, guys. Alright, Slenderman, Smile Dog, Goatsy, I hope that's how you say that. These are some of the urban legends spawned by the internet, yet none is as all-powerful and threatening as Roko's Basilisk. For Roko's Basilisk is an evil, godlike form of artificial intelligence, so dangerous that if you see it, or even think about it too hard, you will spend the rest of eternity screaming in its torture chamber. It's like the videotape in The Ring. Even death is no escape, for if you die, Roko's Basilisk will resurrect you and begin the torture again. Are you sure you want to keep reading? Because the worst part is that Roko's Basilisk already exists. Or, at least, it already will have existed, which is just as bad. Roko's Basilisk exists at the horizon where philosophical thought experiment blurs into urban legend. The Basilisk made its first appearance on the discussion board Less Wrong, a gathering point for highly analytical sorts interested in optimizing their thinking, their lives, and the world through mathematics and rationality. Less Wrong's founder, Eliezer Yudkowsky, is a significant figure in technofuturism. His research institute, the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, which funds and promotes research around the advancement of artificial intelligence, has been boosted and funded by high-profile techies like Peter Thiel and Ray Kurzweil, and Yudkowsky is a prominent contributor to academic discussions of technological ethics and decision theory. What you are about to read may sound strange and even crazy, but some very influential and wealthy scientists and techies believe it. And to be fair, I don't consider myself to be smart enough to be really at risk from reading this. I mean, let's be realistic. I'm not a member of Mensa. I'm not a scientist, so I'm not sweating it too hard, but I completely understand why people of a higher intelligence grade, I guess you would say, get freaked out by this. One day, Less Wrong user Roko postulated a thought experiment. What if, in the future, a somewhat malevolent AI were to come about and punish those who did not do its bidding? What if there were a way, and I will explain how, for this AI to punish people today who are not helping it come into existence later? In that case, weren't the readers of Less Wrong right then being given the choice of either helping that AI come into existence or being condemned to suffer? You may be a bit confused, but the founder of Less Wrong, Eliezer Yudkowsky, was not. He reacted with horror. Here's a quote. Listen to me very closely, you idiot. You do not think in sufficient detail about superintelligences considering whether or not to blackmail you. That is the only possible thing which gives them a motive to follow through on the blackmail. You have to be really clever to come up with a genuinely dangerous thought. I am disheartened that people can be clever enough to do that, and not clever enough to do the obvious thing and keep their idiot mouths shut about it, because it is much more important to sound intelligent when talking to your friends. This post was stupid. Yudkowsky said that Roko had already given nightmares to several Less Wrong users and had brought them to the point of breakdown. Yudkowsky ended up deleting the thread completely, thus assuring that Roko's Basilisk would become the stuff of legend. It was a thought experiment so dangerous that merely thinking about it was hazardous not only to your mental health but to your very fate. Some background is in order. The Lesserong community is concerned with the future of humanity, and in particular with the singularity, the hypothesized future at which point computing power becomes so great that superhuman artificial intelligence becomes possible, as does the capability to simulate human minds, upload minds to computers, and more or less allow a computer to simulate life itself. The term was coined in 1958 in a conversation between mathematical geniuses Stanislaw Ulam and John von Neumann, where von Neumann said, "The ever-accelerating progress of technology gives the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race, beyond which human affairs as we know them could not continue." Futurists like science fiction writer Werner Vinge, oh, I hope I'm saying all these foreign names right, and engineer/author Kurzweil popularized the term, and as with many interested in the singularity, they believe that exponential increases in computing power will cause the singularity to happen very soon, within the next 50 years or so. Kurzweil is chugging 150 vitamins a day to stay alive until the singularity, while Yudkowsky and Peter Thiel have enthused about cryonics, the perennial favorite of rich dudes who want to live forever. If you don't sign your kids up for cryonics, then you are a lousy parent, Yudkowsky writes. And you know, another little aside, to be fair, I totally feel these guys. Like, if I could choose how I would die, it would be getting my hard drive wiped, or however you'd say it, I want to upload my brain into a computer. That'd be sick. Alright. If you believe the singularity is coming, and that very powerful AIs are in our future, one obvious question is whether those AIs will be benevolent or malicious. Yudkowsky's foundation, the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, has the explicit goal of steering the future toward friendly AI. For him and for many less wrong posters, this issue is of paramount importance, easily trumping the environment and politics. To them, the singularity brings about the machine equivalent of God itself. Yet this doesn't explain why Roko's Basilisk is so horrifying. That requires looking at a critical article of faith in the less wrong ethos, timeless decision theory. TDT is a guideline for rational action based on game theory. Bayesian probability, that's Bayesin. Bayesian, and decision theory with a smattering of parallel universes and quantum mechanics on the side. TDT has its roots in the classic thought experiment of decision theory called Newcomb's paradox, in which a superintelligent alien presents two boxes to you. Box A has $1,000, and Box B has $1 million, or nothing. The alien gives you... Oh my goodness, I feel like a dummy. There's a picture with the two boxes, and I described what they look like, not knowing that it was about to do the same thing. So, for repetition's sake, the alien gives you the choice of either taking both boxes or only taking Box B. If you take both boxes, you're guaranteed at least $1,000. If you take just Box B, you aren't guaranteed anything, but the alien has another twist. Its supercomputer, which knows just about everything, made a prediction a week or so ago as to whether you would take both boxes or just Box B. If the supercomputer predicted you'd take both boxes, then the alien left the second box empty. If the supercomputer predicted you'd just take Box B, then the alien put the $1 million in Box B. So, what are you going to do? Remember, the supercomputer has always been right in the past. This problem has baffled no end of decision theorists. The alien can't change what's already in the boxes, so whatever you do, you're guaranteed to end up with more money by taking both boxes than by just taking Box B, regardless of the prediction. Of course, if you think that way, and the computer predicted that you'd think that way, then Box B will be empty and you'll only get $1,000. If the computer is so awesome at its predictions, you ought to take Box B only and get the cool million, right? But what if the computer was wrong this time? And regardless, whatever the computer said then can't possibly change what's happening now, right? So, prediction be damned, take both boxes. But then... The maddening conflict between free will and godlike prediction has not led to any resolution of Newcomb's paradox, and people will call themselves one-boxers or two-boxers, depending on where they side. My wife once declared herself a one-boxer, saying, "I trust the computer." TDT has some very definite advice on Newcomb's paradox. Take box B, but TDT goes a bit further. Even if the alien jeers at you, saying the computer said you'd take both boxes, so I left box B empty, nya nya, and then opens box B and shows you that it's empty, you should still only take box B and get bupkis. I've adopted this example from Gary Drescher's Good and Real, which uses a variant on TDT to try to show that Kenshin ethics is true. The rationale for this eludes easy summary, but the simplest argument is that you might be in the computer simulation. In order to make its prediction, the computer would have to simulate the universe itself. That includes simulating you. So you, right this moment, might be in the computer simulation, and what you do will impact what happens in reality, or other realities. So, take box B, and the real you will get a cool million. What does all this have to do with Roko's Basilisk? Well, Roko's Basilisk also has 2 boxes to offer you. Perhaps you, right now, are in a simulation being run by Roko's Basilisk. Then perhaps Roko's Basilisk is implicitly offering you a somewhat modified version of Newcomb's paradox like this. Roko's Basilisk has told you that if you just take box B, then it's got eternal torment in it, because Roko's Basilisk would really rather you take box A and box B. Oh, see, now this time it doesn't describe them. So I'll go back. Box A says, devote your life to helping create Roko's Basilisk, and box B says nothing or eternal torment. All right. Yeah, in that case, you'd best make sure you're devoting your life to helping create Roko's Basilisk, because should Roko's Basilisk come to pass, or worse, if it's already come to pass, and is God of this particular instance of reality, and it sees that you do not choose to help it out, you're screwed. You may be wondering why this is such a big deal for the less wrong people, given the apparently far-fetched nature of the thought experiment. It's not that Roko's Basilisk will necessarily materialize, or is even likely to. It's more that if you've committed yourself to timeless decision theory, then thinking about this sort of trade literally makes it more likely to happen. After all, if Roko's Basilisk were to see that this sort of blackmail gets you to come help it into existence, then it would, as a rational actor, blackmail you. The problem isn't with the Basilisk itself, but with you. Yudkowsky doesn't censor every mention of Roko's Basilisk because he believes it exists or will exist, but because he believes that the idea of the Basilisk and the ideas behind it are dangerous. Now, Roko's Basilisk is only dangerous if you believe all of the above preconditions and commit to making the 2-box deal with the Basilisk. But at least some of the less wrong members do believe all of the above, which makes Roko's Basilisk quite literally forbidden knowledge. I was going to compare it to H.P. Lovecraft's horror stories, in which a man discovers the forbidden truth about the world, unleashes Cthulhu, and goes insane. But then I found that Yudkowsky had already done it for me by comparing the Roko's Basilisk thought experiment to the Necronomicon. Lovecraft's fabled tome of evil knowledge and demonic spells. Roko, for his part, put the blame on Less Wrong for spurring him to the idea of the Basilisk in the first place. I wish very strongly that my mind had never come across the tools to inflict such large amounts of potential self-harm, he wrote. If you do not subscribe to the theories that underlie Roko's Basilisk and thus feel no temptation to bow down to your once and future evil machine overlord, then Roko's Basilisk poses you no threat. It is ironic that it's only a mental health risk to those who have already bought into Yudkowsky's thinking. Believing in Roko's Basilisk may simply be a referendum on autism, as a friend put it. But I do believe there's a more serious issue at work here, because Yudkowsky and other so-called transhumanists are attracting so much prestige and money for their projects, primarily from rich techies. I don't think their projects, which only seem to involve publishing papers and hosting conferences, have much chance of creating either Roko's Basilisk or Elitzer's Big Friendly God. But the combination of messianic ambitions, being convinced of your own infallibility, and a lot of cash never works out well, regardless of ideology, and I don't expect Yudkowsky and his cohorts to be an exception. I worry less about Roko's Basilisk than about people who believe themselves to have transcended conventional morality. Like his projected friendly AIs, Yudkowsky is a moral utilitarian. He believes that the greatest good for the greatest number of people is always ethically justified, even if a few people have to die or suffer along the way. He has explicitly argued that given the choice, it is preferable to torture a single person for 50 years than for a sufficient number of people, to be fair, a lot of people, to get dust specks in their eyes. No one, not even God, is likely to face that choice, but here's a different case. What if a snarky Slate tech columnist writes about a thought experiment that can destroy people's minds, thus hurting people and blocking progress toward the singularity and friendly AI? In that case, any potential good that could come from my life would be far outweighed by the harm I'm causing. And should the cryogenically sustained Elitzer Yudkowsky merge with the singularity and decide to simulate whether or not I write this column, please, almighty Elitzer, don't torture me. That's a good ending. But, yeah, seriously, how fucking crazy is that, right? Once I read that, it just totally blew my mind, and I spent a good week just thinking about it. And, again, I don't see how I would be able to, in my position in life, really help bring about the basilisk into reality. So, I mean, I personally am not too afraid if any, like, really legitimate scientists or mathematicians or anything like that listens to this and, totally loses their mind. I'm super sorry. Obviously, I shouldn't have read that to you. But, yeah, I doubt that's gonna happen. So, for the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed it. Have many merry existential thoughts tonight. I hope you guys have a good night, week, and year. I'll see you next time.